Hello everyone and welcome to Daily Game Review number 83. Today we have Marsus 7Q versus Lovelace 8Q. Let's go ahead and get started. We see a normal opening here. This is an interesting 3-4. I think I've said this many times, but normally you wouldn't play a 3-4 that encourages an opponent's response. In other words, or an approach, because here in the game, as we see, Black is able to easily approach with support. So I wouldn't recommend this 3-4, but it's a minor thing. That's just normally you don't play it. But I believe I've said that plenty of times throughout this series, so if you're keeping up with the series, you'll probably hear that quite often. Right, so White chooses to kick here and play a very simple Joseki. Black, you have support, so I would go high, because normally when you have support, you go high for development. Low is a little bit low because it's very flat and very easy to deal with. Later, White can easily play a shoulder hit and push your entire position down, so I don't recommend playing a third line here. I recommend a fourth line. Right, White plays a simple move here. Since Black does have an extension over here, I would go ahead and stop the Shamaria with something like this, or perhaps something here or here, in order to stop Black from developing the bottom side so much. Because remember, if Black gets a Shamari, Black already has an extension, so it kind of looks like the bottom position's a little good for Black. However, this isn't too bad because J3 is a little bit far, but I normally would want to stop the Shamari. Alright, Black does make a Shamari while also putting pressure on White. Perfectly fine. White makes a 3 space. And White, this move is almost never good. So locally, White can either jump or play this move in order to fix the 3 space extension. Now, let's explain a couple reasons why this is bad. First off, it is a 3 space extension. Black can go in immediately, and so White should have fixed. And second off, this move is super small. This move is almost never good until later in the game when you're either stealing Black space or you're playing a large end game. But in the opening, this is almost never ever a good move, due to the fact that this is only points. Black is not going to die. Black's not in any real danger, and the ice space for Black is still fine. So therefore, Black can still Tanuki. And in this case, this is an urgent point that White didn't get to. So if Black plays here, it's very easy for Black to split White and start attacking. And that means that this S17 move was only a few points for the urgent move, and that is not equal. The urgent move is much bigger. You should just fix. Black's not going to play this, so you don't have to worry about it. It's not that big of a move, so I wouldn't even bother with it. However, Black did respond, so Black lost the chance to take the big move, and White plays here to get shape, and Black plays here. Normally, you don't want to let this Hane be Sente, so you would fix this way, because you don't want to encourage White to play this one and leave that Atari, because it encourages you to fix, otherwise White will get the Atari. In order to prevent that, we can just fix this way. Now, White chooses to fix like this. The shape is here, third line, fourth line. Third line is the shape, so make sure you remember that. You could also consider a tiger's mouth here, or a simple 1-point jump here. It's also fine. If Black plays this way, you can play this diagonal. This does kill the Blackstone. I'll show the variation really quick. It's Peep, Hane, empty triangle, and then tiger's mouth, or sorry, knight's moves. And this does completely net the stones and kill them. I encourage you to read that out on your own and remember this shape. This diagonal with the next to the 1-point jump does kill Black. However, it should be noted that outside moves are Sente for Black to escape. So just remember that little sequence in this shape and you should be okay. If you're uncomfortable with that, then you can just go ahead and fix like this. It's also fine. However, in the game, White played this little shape, which is a little soft and a little uncomfortable, because later, if Black gets a stone around here, then this move might become a problem for White, or perhaps a move like this. There is some Aji in this area, so I wouldn't say this shape fixes it perfectly, therefore it's not as good as the other one. Now, Black does approach and go play a big move, which is fine. White plays this Joseki again. This Joseki, it should be noted that normally you wouldn't play this way, due to the fact that if it was a high approach and we play this normal Joseki, this result is considered even for both players. White has a 14-point corner and Black has maybe a 6 or so point side, depending on how you judge the Aji. However, I would say it's around 6 to 8 points due to the influence, and black's solid, 3 space extension, white gets 14 points at the corner. Now let's compare it to the Joseki in the game. Here, white does not have 14 points in the corner. Remember, white had one more line down at c15. However, here, it looks like white played the wrong move. It looks like black approached high and white played here instead. And this looks like the exact same as the game. The game, it was here though. And it looks like after we play a Tawari or a different variation, it looks like white played a slightly soft move and lost a couple points, and black was still able to settle very effectively, very efficiently. So normally you wouldn't see c16 potentially for that reason, because the other one was even. Therefore, it can be said that this one is slightly favorable for black. However, white is solid, so if you really need Sente and really need to be solid, then this is possible. But on this board, I don't think you need to be super solid like that. So I think a pincer or something a little bit more active is usually more beneficial for white, or perhaps a diagonal or a knight's move. I think something a little bit more active would be normally more favorable for white in this scenario. Or you could even play this. But this Joseki, I feel, is slightly good for black due to the Tawari. All right, so it's simple, but you know. All right, so white did go in. When you go in, there's a couple ways. You could attach the Shamari here, you could attach here, or you can shoulder hit here. Those are the 3 most common ways. However, going here, it's questionable where your follow-up is. Remember, you need multiple follow-ups, not just one. In this case, it looks like you have 2. However, as soon as black plays here and you jump, black can easily start surrounding you. And this looks like it's a lot of pressure on white when you play this way. Therefore, normally, one of the other 3 options are a little bit better. If you play this way, then jump, you could easily play a sabaki type shape like this. I recommend remembering this shape and variation. It is also similar for here, and this is a good sabaki shape. Attach, it's normally something along these lines. And you can play something like this. And attach under is a well-known probe. So this has several variations that are very easy to look up. Just look up the probe to the Shamari, and it becomes very easy. Sorry, that's not the most common one's this one. You can play this way, and this, and then make a sabaki shape like so. And if black plays here, you can just live in the corner. And I believe it's this one and this one. There we go. And white lives with 2 points. So that is also that variation. There's more variations, but those are the most common. All right, black plays this way. Remember, black, step 1 is take the base, and then you can surround. White plays this way, it's just making shape. White, don't try to make eyes on the second line like this. It's super small, and black's influence will definitely be more valuable. Instead, just go ahead and make the 1-point jump. When black tries to take your eyes, just run away. I wouldn't even worry about it. Don't be concerned, because if black steals the base, then you're out, you're good, you're alive. Easy peasy, right? So black's not going to do that. Black's going to start surrounding you, and you will play some variations or something, right? And let's say whatever happens later, you can probably go back and block here, and that'll be an eye. There's no way to make 2 efficient eyes right here locally. You might be able to make 2 eyes, but I think it's going to be it's not going to be cost effective for you. It's going to be too good for black if black just gets to surround you. For example, if you just do something basic like this, it already looks really good for black, and this thickness for black is just too good. Therefore, I think it's likely not going to be good for you to just live locally. Black might also choose to do something like this first, and maybe, let's just say something crazy like this. See if this works out. Let's say you have to live with some random variation. That doesn't even work. Let's say you have to live with some random variation, right? But the thickness on the outside is much more valuable than the few points you get on the inside. It's just not worth it. That thickness, rather than letting him get that thickness, just run away. Just play a simple move and just run away. It's much more valuable. That is why in the basics, our steps to defend ourselves is step 1, make a base, step 2, run away, and step 3 is eye space. And this on the second line is eye space because it looks like you're desperate to live, but you can still run away. And running away is more valuable because it prevents black from making that thickness, which is valuable. Here, don't give your opponent the Hane head of 2 because the double Hane is very powerful. Black, you're strong. Don't worry about it. If white plays this way, white's just going to get another weak group next to thickness, so don't even worry about those cuts just yet. Not quite yet. Keep an eye out for them, but the cuts don't work immediately, and this result's good for black. However, it looks like white might get to break out, but white chose to live on the inside. Probably fine, because now white might get Sente. Black chooses to make the thickness. Locally, the result is good for black. However, globally, white did get Sente and lived in Sente, so I can't say it's terrible for white. And white also got more points than I expected. Therefore, I'm not sure if it's good for white or good for black. I might be even, but since white got Sente, I kind of prefer white. Because normally when you're attacking, you don't lose Sente. If your opponent gets to live in Sente, it's usually an uncomfortable feeling. So much so that I might even omit this move and go play something else. For example, here. Sente is very valuable. Therefore, I think black messed up the attack a little bit, but white also made some mistakes locally as well. All right, very simple move, very calm. Bad peep, completely unnecessary because there's still Ajin here. There's no reason to make a peep and make black stronger, so don't play unnecessary peeps. This is all Dame. No one really cares about these points. Still center, center, center. White's getting an unnecessary weak group and an unnecessary empty triangle. You can just play here. So let's look at all those moves really for a second. How many points did both players make? If anything, black made maybe 3 or 4. However, globally, it's hardly affecting the board at all. Like, there's almost no points. Rather than playing all of these weird moves, why not just make a 2-space extension? That's already 6 points. That's already more than we saw both players make combined. Therefore, just playing on the top side was big. You could also consider an attachment here, and then a jump back, and that might also prevent black from making some stuff. Maybe that's too complex. Don't worry about that, actually. That one might be a little too high level. Point being, playing a normal move is pretty valuable here, and this is much more valuable than playing these weird center moves. Stay away from the center, guys, unless you have a very good reason, or unless you can develop the center in Sente. The center is super, super small. You look at this entire result, and it's like white just got an unnecessary weak group after playing those moves, and black got like 4 points, and maybe white got like 2. But if you would have just played on the top, it was 6 points. So there's no reason not to play on the top. Even now, I would get to the top, which black does. However, you gotta watch the cuts. If I was black, I would potentially push white once more, see if you can get that Hane in. White fixes and then get back to the top, and that's like 20 points or 25 points up there. It's much more valuable. Here you gotta watch the cuts. Should be more or less okay. Black does get that peep and get some shape here. That cut's still there, black, so that was an unnecessary Atari. If anything, I would have preferred to just fix. Then you have some Aji at E18, which is really, really big. Here, this Atari is really bad, so I wouldn't even bother with it because it fixes white's peep at E18, and the cut still works for white, so it's not a good Atari. All right, black thinks he has the top. That cut's still there, and now black's going for the center. Remember, the center is small, ladies and gentlemen. Remember that the center in Gote is super, super small. Rather, a move like this is actually much bigger. Why is it bigger? Because it threatens a good 6 to 10 points. How many points did this make? Well, maybe 9 if we're generous, but white can easily reduce and make points while reducing, or even just go in and reduce, or just go in directly and reduce. It's really hard to make the center points, guys. It's really, really hard. So the center points is not very valuable. Center and Gote is small. This move is completely Dame. I don't understand what both players are doing. That's completely overplay. And black responded, because this is a simple double Atari. Black's worried about the ladder, but just take. There's nothing wrong. So I'm not sure what's happening. So white kind of overplayed here, and black still responded. So white was able to get away with it, which is not normal. I think it was just bad reading here. And then black once again goes for the center. So I think the biggest thing that we can learn from this game, the biggest thing is center is small. The center is small. Let's just highlight the areas that these two players played in. This entire area, well, not that one. This entire area for both players, this whole center, how many points did it make? If anything, the only one who got anything was black. Black was able to get A. The reason black was able to get A is because white got nothing else. And now A is only 10 points. It may seem like a lot. A may seem like quite a few points, but let's just play one white move. Here. This move is already more than 10 points. Why, you may ask? Well, if black had played here, black has 10 points on top, correct? At least 10 points on top. Now let's say white played here. Well, remember how I said these two stones are going to die? Well, so black will have to sacrifice them, right? Now, this is already 4, 6, 8 points for white. So black lost around 8 to 10 points. So let's say 8. Let's be generous and say 8. And then white gained 8. That is a 16-point difference. And it feels like it's almost centered due to this cut. If it's centered, the value doubles, and therefore it'd be a 32-point move. But let's be generous once again and say it's only 16 points. Well, if it's only 16 points, then that is more than what black got in the center here. Now remember, black spent at least 2 moves in Gote for the center. Recall that these 2 moves were Gote, and this white move is 1 move in Gote. Therefore, these 2 moves in Gote were less than 1 move in Gote for white on top. So you can see that when we compare the values of moves on the top, on the side, versus moves in the center, the moves in the center are super small, are much less valuable. Because center, if it's not in Sente, or if it's not threatening some major influence or something like that, then it's usually almost always, like 90% of the time, super small. And that is because you surround points in Gote, and it is very easy to reduce. And the sides are much more valuable than the center. Now, I think the biggest thing to learn from this game is center is small, and don't play so many dame moves. How many moves did white play in here? Like, it looks like almost 20 moves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 moves white played in this area. But how many points did white get? 3? 1, 2, and maybe 3? I got 3 points and 17 moves. So many moves wasted in this area. So I highly recommend, guys, highly recommend, make your moves valuable. Make sure they're valuable. That will really help you out. Stay away from the center. Make sure your moves are not playing dame moves. Make sure you're not getting weak groups for no good reason. And get to those big areas. Get to those big areas. Now, I do want to mention a couple more things about this game. Was black didn't see his weakness. The fight on the bottom was a little messy for both players. The shape on the right and the Joseki for white. So it looks like white needs to work on some shapes, and I did show some invasions and some better shapes. So take from this game those shapes. Black, some attack and defense ideas. Actually, for both players on the bottom, attack and defense ideas. On the bottom, there were several things to learn from. And the biggest thing is the center. So hopefully you guys understand that, and hopefully you found this helpful. And as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.